Hi there, I'm Chris for Tippy Gaming, and today we're going to be painting the horse body of a centaur. Now, the technique that we're going to use in this video does require a sponge, which not everyone may have, but it helps build up texture, which creates like the horse hair, which really helps make your model stand out. Here we have Centaurs, a superstar model from Rumble Slam. He's a centaur, so the techniques we're going to use to paint his lower body can also be used for painting horses for your cavalry models or even your on horseback models from The Walking Dead. A lot of time when painting horse models, you'll just layer paint it and it's good to go. But for this model, since he's unique in the game, I want him to stand out a little. And since his horse body is the focal point, I'm going to spend a bit of time just making it something a bit extra. So I'm going to build up the hair texture using a sponge. I'm going to be stippling colour on with the sponge, but first we'll apply the mid-tone of the skin using a brush. This will make it so any area the sponge doesn't add texture to still has some colour there. For this brown horse, I'm going to start with barbarian leather, thin slightly on my wet palette. We're going to apply the barbarian leather all over the areas of horse skin. Obviously with the centaur I'm not going to be covering the whole model with it, as I'll be glazing a skin tone where the human body and the horse body join to make a blend between them. Be sure to get a good solid coat of your mid-tone on the model, so use a couple of coats. I use 3 to get a completely opaque colour. Now with the mid-tone dry, we're going to take some of the mid-tone, but undiluted, onto the corner of a sponge. Using the corner will give us a little more control over where it's applied. We're going to stipple on the paint, just dabbing it here and there, trying to avoid the lower parts of the muscles. Once it dries, we'll do another layer exactly the same way. This is going to build up subtle textures to represent the hair of the horse. After every colour we've done with the sponge, we want to clean it out. Just dip it in the water and then wring it out as best you can. For the next layer, we'll mix a little barbarian brown with leprous brown on the palette. Then using a dry corner of the sponge, we'll take some paint and stipple it again, but on the higher points of the muscles and body of the horse. We're going to start building up a golden brown highlight on the horse here. By doing a couple layers of this, get a really nice highlight with some really good texture. If you think you've went a little heavy with the stippling, you can use a clean corner of the sponge and dab it where the paint is. This will bring up some of the paint and also keep some texture built up. Once you're happy with how much you've done, just clean the sponge again. Using a clean and dry corner of the sponge, the first corner we used was dry for me, we'll use some pure leprous brown and target the highest points of each muscle in the areas of the body where light is directly hitting. Clean off the sponge and set it aside. Now we're going to use hairy brown and create a glaze. Using a thin brush, we're going to glaze in the shadows on the undersides of the muscles and body, also around any blankets, saddles, or in this case knee pads and singlet. We can also colour the front legs of the horse, as these brown horses sometimes have darker front legs. Do a few passes of this to deepen the colour, allowing the previous one to dry completely first. Once that's done, we'll take Administratum Grey and paint the fetlocks of the horse. This is the hair around the ankles. Some horses have some white on the lower back legs too, so I'm adding that to this one. Check your reference material for whatever colour horse you're painting for what colours they use here. Since mine will be white, the grey is a good starting point. Using white scar, we'll apply a highlight to the fetlocks. This is just using the side of the brush and running it along the tops of the hair and the skin you want white. Using Abaddon Black, we will paint in the tail. Then on this particular model I'm going to paint the hair, beard and the hair on his stomach. Citadel's Rakarth flesh is ideal for doing the hooves of the horse. Gives a nice clean, almost bone-like tone to them. We're just going to go around them and also paint the tops of them. Once dried, Pallid Witch Flesh is a perfect partner for Rakarth Flesh. I tend to always use them both together. Here we're painting the highlights of the hooves. Next we're going to add a subtle highlight to the hair using a mix of Mordian Blue and Abaddon Black. We're just going to be hitting the highest parts of the hair here. Black hair on horses can have a kind of blue tone to it when the light hits it right, and that's what we're going to recreate here. Then once it's dried, we'll knock it back with a little black wash of your choice. I'm using a homemade wash. Just run it over where we painted the blue mix. You'll see in these photos how the texture adds that little bit extra visual interest to the horse body, and how the sponge has blended the different tones really nicely, emphasising the roundness of the horse. If you found this technique useful, leave a like on the video, drop a comment down below and hit subscribe to follow along with future videos. Also follow me on Instagram and Facebook to find out what I'm painting next.